What's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video. This is probably the most important video I've ever made in my entire life, and I want to give this the depth and clarity that it needs because this is a really important issue. I want to talk about the epidemic that men are facing in 2025 because it is ruining lives, it's destroying men, it's ruining our society for that matter, and we need to address the real root causes of this, and we need to give it the clarity that it needs. If you're a man that is looking to build yourself, make sure you stay all the way to the end because this might pertain to you. And I also have a gift to give you at the end. And if you're one of those men looking to build yourself, make sure you subscribe because I'm posting videos like this constantly to help you build yourself as a man. So without further delay, let's get right into it. So this epidemic I want to discuss is something that I've seen going on for a long time. I see it permeate a lot of the issues that I think receive a lot more attention, whether it's in the media, discussion online, or whatever. But to me, this is the real issue that sits atop of all the other reasons of the problems we're dealing with in society. And I don't hear anybody discussing that root cause. Now, let's back up a minute and let's talk about as men, as being masculine beings, we have these certain things that we need in life. And sitting among the top of them is purpose. We need mission and purpose in our lives. Why do we need that? Well, because life is full of suffering, right? I don't need to tell you that, right? You know that you struggle through life. There's financial hardship, there's heartbreak, there's loss, there's failure, there's things. And you know what? Life is also amazing too. But among that struggling, we have to have meaning. We have to have purpose. We have to have a mission. We have to have something that holds us through that suffering and what's hard. Now, what's really important to understand here is I'm going to use the example of Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor. He was also a psychiatrist. He wrote an amazing book. I believe it was called Man's Search for Meaning, and it is one of the best books I've ever read. It was him talking about the resilience that, certain Holocaust survivors went through, how they were able to, shape their attitudes among the worst human conditions you could find yourself. And what he found in a lot of ways was that, the people that had purpose and meaning and felt like there was a reason for them to survive, they often were able to endure that suffering. Now, that suffering existed on an extreme scale, physically, mentally, spiritually, in every capacity. In today's world, it's a little bit different for men, right? We don't face that same literal struggle in that capacity, but what we have seen is the erosion of purpose, meaning, and mission in life for men. And what this has resulted in is men being aimless. Now, understand that when men don't have like an aim in life, when there is no purpose, when there is no meaning to ground a man through that suffering in life that he experiences, what ends up happening is there becomes a void. Now that void, you can picture it like a hole, it has to be filled. If you envision what happens when you are on the beach and you dig out, let's say some sand, and the water, the waves rushes in, what happens? That water fills that hole, it fills that void. That's what I'm talking about here. Now, in today's world, and I've talked about this before in other videos, and I've talked about this on other, social media platforms, it's really important to understand that the things that fill that void can range in their severity. They could be as simple as things like, being a sports fanatic. Like you're overly attached to sports teams and the outcomes there because that man lacks his own purpose and direction in life. He has to attach to something else external, and that gives him purpose and meaning, going through their wins and losses in life, whatever. Okay, that's just one example of what I'm talking about. These also can range in their severity, like things like self-harm or damaging yourself or harming other people, because you have to understand that the masculine force of nature does not often go quietly. A lot of men, when they have this void, they will, want to not go out quietly, and they'll want to take other people down with them. And like I said, there's a big range of what I'm talking about here, right? Like it's a big range, and it can vary in its severity. And I want to talk about some of those different things. Now, what receives a lot of attention in our world is what I would call top of the iceberg symptoms of this problem. You could think about violence, self-harm, addiction, being addicted to sports betting. These things are the top of the iceberg problems that exist as symptoms for that exact thing. So I'll give you an example of this. A lot of times people have headaches and they take an ibuprofen because it fixes the headache. But what was the cause of the headache? Is it because you're dehydrated? Is it because you didn't sleep well? There's a number of different reasons for that. What I'm talking about here is not the headache. I'm talking about the lack of hydration. You understand what I'm saying? The real problem is that the lack of purpose and meaning that men are experiencing in life and feeling hopeless about being able to improve their lives is resulting in all these different problems that we're seeing. Now, I didn't want to come into this video and just BS you and just make stuff up. I want to give you real data on this. So let's talk about a few of these things and how this is actually playing out in our society. So let's start with self-harm with suicide, okay? The adjusted suicide rate for males increased from 18.5 per 100,000 in 2002, so this is 23 years ago, to 22.8 in 2018, and further to 23 by 2022. So almost 5 more men per 100,000 taking their life in just that 20-year span, okay? Overall, suicide rate within the United States rose 36% between 2000 to 2021. Obviously, this isn't just men, this also includes women, but a lot of the times this is men because these things affect men a lot stronger because, as I said, this comes back to the root cause that men have in a lot of ways. There's other problems with mental health that get caused by this, in my opinion, and there's also problems with hormones, all kinds of other things, but this is what I want to focus on talking about is this lack of meaning and purpose in this video. I do discuss hormones and stuff in other videos. Like I said, make sure you're subscribed. How about deaths due to excessive alcohol use? From 2016 to 2017, 2020 to 2021, annual deaths rose 29.3% from excessive alcohol use. Okay, and that's within COVID as well, but understand that that trend was already happening before that, and that's based on the CDC. The previous suicide stat I gave was also from the CDC as well. How about firearm homicide rate from ages 18 to 24? This is young men. From the report, persons ages 18 to 24 had higher firearm homicide rate, 14.2 per 100,000 for 2018 to 2022 than any other group, okay? So men are being harmed by this, and they're also harming themselves. These are just like symptoms. This is just the top line things that exist with this, and it's the result, in my personal experience, because I've seen this in my own life, that men are lacking purpose and meaning. Let me give you one specific example of a guy that I've worked with, okay? This guy has a bunch of different addictions. He's addicted to porn. He's like, and I'm talking like excessive usage, multiple times per day, hours at a time sometimes, kind of porn usage. I'm not talking just casual porn watching. I'm talking like hard, like watching stuff for hours at a time, consuming him, taking away from other stuff. He's addicted to the nicotine pouches, the Zins or whatever they're called. I'm not even familiar. Yeah, Zins, yeah, is what they are. He's addicted to alcohol. Like, this is a multifaceted thing. Now, what this man does not have in his life is purpose and direction, right? What we've worked through, instead of trying to work directly on getting rid of those things, is him finding his purpose and meaning. And guess what? As we've worked through that over the last 6 to 7 months, there has been less usage of those things. Because understand that the void that used to be there for him was being filled by those nicotine uses, porn usage, alcohol, whatever, because it's numbing the underlying ache that the man feels, the existential dread that that man has. Now, we don't see this a lot because we just don't talk about it enough, right? The reason that more and more men are becoming radicalized in both directions, the left and right, is because they have this void. They have this lack of meaning and identity. They don't feel like their lives can improve. So what ends up happening is they can get swept up into these ideologies that give them purpose and meaning, even if they're self-destructive to the man himself or destructive to other people, right? And this isn't just a left-wing thing or a right-wing thing. This is something that exists on both ends of the spectrum. That's why you see more political violence happening. That's why you see more people that are just genuinely outraged about everything. And for young men that feel like the world around them is harder than it's ever been before, which, there's arguments to be made in different directions, but remember, the worst thing that you've ever experienced is that now men are falling more into these, what I would call diseases of despair, whether it's alcoholism, self-harm, or drug addiction, okay? Now, drug addiction specifically is something that affected me, not directly, but one of my friends. I found one of my friends dead of a drug overdose back in 2020. And that, for me, affected me immensely. I had to go to years of therapy to work through that PTSD that affected his family. It affected him, obviously, because he's not here anymore. But my point is that in that guy's case, my friend Mike, he had that same problem, right? He had that lack of meaning and purpose in life. And I tried to help him find that, right? Like I tried my best. I wasn't really at that point as knowledgeable about this stuff. I would say that his loss actually is what got me to start thinking about this stuff on a deeper level five years ago now. And the reality is that men everywhere are experiencing this, right? We see this constantly. And so my point, and the real large take-home point that I want to leave people with here is that until we address and help men find their purpose and their meaning in life to make sense of the suffering they experience, we will continue to see men hurt themselves. We will continue to see men hurt other people. We will continue to see men distract themselves, numb themselves. And it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the man himself, and it makes our society worse, right? But a lot of people just want to point fingers at these young men. A lot of people just want to say, oh, they're weak and this and that and everything. And you know what? That's not helping anything, right? You understand that? That's not helping anything. These men feel lost. They feel hopeless. And unless you speak to them about that directly, they're not going to understand that. They're not going to listen when you scream and yell at them. They're only going to listen to people that understand their problems. So whether you're a man that's trying to help other men like that, or maybe you're a man that's suffering from this yourself, I want you to understand that there are people to help you. Whether that's a coach like me who's built a system to help you with this, or it's a therapist, or somebody that has your best intentions in mind. It could be a mentor. It could be like your grandfather. It could be your dad. I don't know. Maybe it's an uncle. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's somebody you work with. The point is that there are people to help you, right? And when I said that I was going to leave you with a gift at the end of this, I am. I want to leave you with something that could help you with this. I built you a free training where you can go in there and learn how to build yourself into the most magnetic version of yourself. That means you become this magnet that attracts in what you want in life. You do that by discovering your purpose and meaning in life, right? I help you do that in that training. I teach you how to build your body, your mindset, your life direction, understand how to have polarity with women, and attract what you want in life. So if that sounds like something you want to do to build yourself as a man, go down into the description of this video, find that, go take that, sign up for it. It will change your life if you allow it, if you take it, I promise you, okay? Now, without further delay, I want to end this video and thank you for sticking with me through this. This is definitely not the last video I'm going to make talking about this type of issue because it is a bad problem that our society is facing and we need to talk about this more. There needs to be more conversation about it. So without further delay, I will see you in that next video. Make sure you are subscribed. Have a great day or night, no matter whenever you're watching this.